What's up, guys? I wanted to talk a bit about something else today. This is the second video that I'm doing here on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to everybody. But there is something else I wanted to talk about. I did a NASCAR video earlier, but I've also wanted to talk about what's going on with Red Dead Redemption 2 online multiplayer, and it kind of ties into the whole gaming industry and everything that's been going on. But those of you who have watched my earlier videos, my review of Red Dead Redemption 2, my thoughts on the game, stuff like that, you know how much I love the game. I think it's one of the greatest games ever made, if not the greatest. Just my opinion. Some people, it's not your cup of tea, whatever, but there's no denying, I think, that the story mode, the offline part of the game, is a masterpiece. Um, and for me, I spent $60 on the game, and I got more than my money's worth in terms of that. The problem is that the online side of the game, which they call a beta, which they're kind of being cute with that because they feel like, I suppose, Rockstar does, or Take-Two, who's the parent company. I guess they feel like that will buy them some leeway when it comes to the shady things that they're doing, which is pretty much what almost every developer does nowadays when it comes to microtransactions and just trying to squeeze as much money out of people as possible for as little content as possible. And I guess if they call it, as long as they call it a demo, not a demo, a beta, I guess they feel like some people will just eat it and just say, well, it's not the final version, whatever. But I can see it for what it is. I told everybody a year ago, all right? It was around this time a year ago, actually before that, but when Rockstar had postponed the game for about a year, and I told everyone why they were doing it. I said it has nothing to do with quality. They've been developing that game for 7 to 8 years. There's no way they were going to develop a game for an entire year just to polish it. If they delayed it for a month, maybe 2 months at most, then you could say, okay, they're just polishing it up a bit. You don't delay a fucking game an entire year and just say, yeah, we want to make sure everything's polished. You don't need a year to do that for any fucking game. So I knew back then, I said, look, they are focused on online DLC, microtransactions, all that stuff. They clearly stated that they felt they didn't make enough money from Grand Theft Auto 5 online, which is ridiculous. But as I've always told people, corporations exist to make money. They're not there to give you the best possible product. I mean, they try to a point because it equals dollars, but at some point they go for the easy money, right? So how can we make the most money without having to put out the most resources and expense out of our pockets? That's what they do. And microtransactions, that's what the gaming industry has figured out is the best way to do that. And it's, people have been suckered into doing this stuff for years, and there's just so much money to be made ripping people off because people are willing to go with it. And that's why I've been talking about this for years. I've been telling people you have to show some restraint. And just because you can afford something doesn't mean it's smart to buy it. And some people are like, it's nothing to me. It's $5 here, $10 there. I don't care. I can afford it. It's, that's your problem if you can't afford it. It has nothing to do with what you can and can't afford. It has to do with value for your dollar and what it does to the entire gaming industry, how it affects it. And when you buy these bullshit skins and trinkets, it only exacerbates the problem. It creates a bigger problem because you're keeping alive a bad business model. And now you're seeing games, bad quality, rushed out the door because these developers and publishers don't care. They know you're going to buy the game even though it's in a crappy state, because you've accepted that when you buy a game, it's not going to work perfectly day one. And the gaming industry is the only place you see this. You know, if you went and bought a brand new car and it was loaded with issues, you would take it back. You wouldn't just accept it and say, well, you know, as time goes on, they'll issue recalls and I'll just take the car in and get whatever needs done whenever, God knows when, they decide they're going to fix this stuff or figure it out. It's only the gaming industry where this has become accepted. And this is why I always focus on us, the consumer. We're the fucking problem. So, you know, you got this RDR, Red Dead Redemption 2 online. It is atrocious. And it's amazing because as great as the offline story mode of the game is, it's almost the exact opposite in terms of the multiplayer. It is horrendous. It is nothing but a grind fest. It's basically a casino. That's what it is. It is a game designed purposely unbalanced to force people who are playing it to feel like I have to spend the money. It's taking forever to grind to get enough money, gold bars, to get the things I need to get just to compete with other players who are, by the way, they make your life miserable. You leave a lobby and you just end up in another lobby with another idiot who's just following you around the map, killing you while you're just trying to do your own thing. And you want to know how unbalanced on purpose this game is and how on purpose this is by the developer? There is no passive mode. For those of you who don't know, those of you who play GTA 5 know what I'm talking about. But if you've never played Grand Theft Auto 5, there is something called passive mode, which you can at any time enter. You press a button, you go, you select passive mode, and now you are ghosted to everyone in the lobby. So you can go around, you can do what you want to do, and people can try to shoot you and kill you, and they can't do anything to you because you are in what's called passive mode. So you could, if you're just doing your own thing and you don't want to be bothered, you go in passive mode, and it works. And they purposely don't have that in this game. There's no passive mode. So you are open to anybody in the lobby who wants to make your life miserable and just fuck up your experience. You're at their mercy. So you leave the lobby and hope that you land in a different lobby where there's not a bunch of assholes, and it never happens. So you are at the mercy of other players. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. Okay, so there's no passive mode, and there's no reason that Rockstar or Take-Two can explain as to why there's no passive mode in this game. Okay, so I'm telling you what it's for. It's so that you are at the mercy of other players, so that you feel compelled to spend money, so that you can fight back, I guess. Or when you have a guy trying to kill you, you know, he's not overpowering you. That doesn't sound like fun to me, which is the other thing about this game that I hate. The online is it's nothing but a grind. All the missions and side quests, you know, the little things you do to make money, they're boring, they're repetitive, they're dull. And in a way, I gotta be honest, I kind of expected that, because when you look at Grand Theft Auto online, when they introduced the heists, I didn't care for the heists. I thought they were kind of boring. I don't know. It's just me. Now, I spent a lot of time on Grand Theft Auto Online, but Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, those worlds are night and day different. Red Dead Redemption 2 is based in the late 1800s, early 1900s. You're not going to have all the crazy over-the-top things that you see in Grand Theft Auto, which is based in the modern, I won't even say modern world, because there's a lot of over-the-top shit in the game that's crazy, that you don't even see in real life. But there's so much that game has that even if you don't care to do heists and all this other stuff, there's a lot of things to do. Even just free roaming around, if you want to just get into fights with people, you can do that. Personally, I spent 90% of my time on Grand Theft Auto Online racing, which is the one thing that I love to do, and I spent a lot of time racing, and I had a great time with it. So that's what kept Grand Theft Auto Online playable to me, was the racing. So in this game, you can race horses and stuff, but it's like everything in this game is not even 1/10 of what you can do in Grand Theft Auto. Now, some people will say, well, Grand Theft Auto has several years of development, and when it first came out, it wasn't great. But even when you take that out of the equation, just look at, Red Dead Redemption is based in a world where there's not a lot to do. There's just a limit to even if you add stuff, what can you possibly add? How many different types of horses can you fucking buy? So it's not like Grand Theft Auto where you were just constantly getting new vehicles, right? But what I'm trying to say is this: no matter what Rockstar comes up with, I wouldn't expect much. This game is just going to be a grind fest. And that's what it's meant to be. It's on purpose. That's what bothers me more than anything. It's not like a game that has issues that it was because of maybe the developer was a little bit overwhelmed and they just couldn't get certain things done right. It's what the game's meant to be. And this game is meant to be a grind. Its purpose is to be a cash-making casino. The fact that they implemented two completely different sets of currency, right? So you have the actual dollars and you have gold bars. So that even if you have a certain amount of money, you still need a certain amount of gold bars just to buy certain things or do certain things. Then on top of that, you have to be at a certain level. So even if you did have the money and the gold bars, if you're not at a certain level, you can't buy certain things until you reach that level. So you're still forced to grind and grind. And that's the biggest issue with the game, is the microtransactions and the grindiness of it. Games are supposed to be fun. And this is where the difference between Grand Theft Auto Online and this game really grab hold. Even though Grand Theft Auto Online is loaded with microtransactions, I make money just doing things that I'm having fun doing. The racing that I did earned me more than enough money to get whatever I wanted. And I was never even paying conscious of the money I was making. I was just doing one race after the other because it was fun, not because I'm trying to make money. That is the fatal flaw of Red Dead Redemption 2. Everything is designed about chasing dollars because they unbalance the game to the point where you're not going to have fun unless you can upgrade the things you have, because now you're overpowered by other players, and you just feel like everything is I don't know how to put it. Even doing missions and stuff like that, your weapons aren't. It's just a chore. It takes longer to do certain things, and that's not fun. After a while, and you're just chasing that dollar and chasing those gold bars, which, by the way, that's another thing. the pricing in this game is atrocious. Even when they lowered everything and they supposedly rebalanced the pricing of all the items in the game and stuff, it's still obscenely expensive. So you took rifles, right? That at one point they were asking for nearly almost $800. And if you see the how the money in this game works and how long it takes to make it, it takes forever to make $500. Imagine, I mean, all the time I've spent online, and right now I have maybe $2,200, and that's actually trying to make money. And I'm just bored to death. I'm tired of it. Now, there is something in this game that I'm personally enjoying. And I'm going around beating up the NPCs, the AI pedestrians, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going from town to town, and I can have fist fights with everybody, and I don't get a wanted level, right? As long as I don't kill somebody, and as long as I don't attack law enforcement, I can even beat up people in front of them, and they kind of, they'll make funny comments, but you don't get a wanted level. Now, I think it's because my character is, there's a thing where you can be a good guy or a bad guy. And I'm a complete 100% bad guy. And I think at that point, you can get away with beating up people without having law enforcement calling. But in either case, my point is this. I really like the feel of the hand-to-hand fighting in this game. It feels good. It's fun. So I spent most of my time going around beating people up and then looting them. You really don't make much money because these guys have like 6-7 cents on them. But it's fun, and I go from one town to the next, and then I'll do some of these side missions and stuff. But I can't tell you how grindy this fucking game is, and that's the fatal flaw. At the end of the day, if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, then what's the point of playing? And these games are all a grind now. It's all about chasing that online currency so that you could build up your position or your character, so that you're no longer getting your ass kicked by other players. That's not fun. Games are supposed to be fun, and that's where I think Grand Theft Auto Online is much better, because besides the fact that there's such a bigger variety of things to do, you'll make money doing things that don't feel as grindy. And like I said, all 80%, and I'm being generous there, even higher than that, of my time I spent on Grand Theft Auto Online racing and having a fucking blast. There's countless types of races, and I made friends on it, had good times with people, just fucking around. And then before you know it, you look up and you're like, oh shit, I got $12 million that I made this past couple of weeks just fucking racing. I wasn't even thinking about it. And that's a better experience than consciously doing things that are boring, a complete grind, and just constantly checking how much money you're making. And you're wasting countless hours doing stuff that's boring and repetitive because you are not enjoying the game and you're just desperately trying to level up. And what you find is that when you finally start leveling up, the game's not any more fun. This game is already dying. People are leaving. And in all honesty, I hope this fucking online dies. I hope that it crumbles. And it pains me to say it, because those of you who've watched my videos before, you know I love Rockstar as a developer. I think they make amazing high quality games. And Red Dead Redemption 2, in spite of the atrocious online, the offline is a masterpiece. I highly recommend this game. If you got $60 to spend on the game, this is it. And it's worth it. Now, I'm not an online gamer, believe it or not. when I buy games, I buy them strictly for the offline. If I know that the offline is not worth it, I'm not going to buy it just because of the online multiplayer. That's me. And I know a lot of gamers out there today are more concerned with online multiplayer. So for those of you who fall into that category, I think you'll be sadly disappointed with this game. But if you appreciate offline content, if you appreciate a great story and an engaging offline story mode and content, believe me, this is as good as it gets. And the replay value of the offline is extremely high. So I'm having fun with the game. I'm going back to story mode. I'm going to play the story mode again. I'm going to do things a little differently. So this game, it has already surpassed the $60 value that I spent on it based on the offline. But I got news for you, man. That online is atrocious. And I hate to say it, as much as I love Rockstar Games, I think that Take-Two, the parent company and publisher, is destroying this game based the same way they did to the NBA 2K franchise. It's going in that same direction. And, you know, I got some good news, by the way, but they have to crash and burn and lose money in order to wake up and see that we can't continue to do this. If we want people's money, we have to stick to what our bread and butter is, which is creating great games that people enjoy. So the good news is that people are starting to fight back. They're starting to wake up and realize that throwing good money away on garbage is not the way to go. And this isn't just happening now. It's been happening since last year. Now, when Rockstar delayed Red Dead Redemption 2, I told you guys, you can go back and look at my previous videos. I told you guys why they did it. I said it was all about preparing the online monetization. And the reason they had to delay the game for so long, for a year, was because of what was happening with EA and Activision. There was that huge Battlefront backlash a year ago, if you remember. And all of these loot boxes and loot crates and all of this shit, legislation being passed in foreign countries, fighting back against all this shit. And Rockstar, or Take-Two, they were smart enough to say, we cannot release the game. Whatever they had planned, as bad as the online is now, I can only imagine what they had ready to release a year ago. If this is after a year of delay and fixing things up, could you imagine how bad this game, the online, would have been a year ago? That's why they delayed it. And they saw what was happening with the backlash, and they said, the same thing's going to happen to us. Let's fucking delay the game. Let's make some changes, and hopefully things will blow over, and we can just fly under the radar, and a year from now, this will be forgotten. But unfortunately for them, it hasn't gone away. It's only gotten worse. You got companies like Bethesda and what's going on with Fallout 76. All these other companies. There's a lot of backlash in the industry. And when you look at EA and Activision and the stock prices that have dropped drastically throughout the past year, and it's still going down. If you look at these charts, they're just pointing down. The same thing's going to happen to Take-Two and Rockstar. People are fed up, and they're not going to keep just giving you their money for garbage. And I think it's a great thing. I think that until the industry comes to a point where they're hemorrhaging money and these stock prices are crashing, nothing's going to change. And I think that as games are being developed right now, developers are starting to have to think twice about what they do. Maybe focus more on quality and offline content and not just purposely create these games where it's purposely unbalanced and made so that it's just a fucking casino where they're going to milk you for every dollar they can get. So that's good news, okay? And I like that it's happening. And I always encourage people, don't fucking spend the money. This is why I tell people, even when it comes to like NASCAR games and stuff, don't fucking buy paint schemes. By the way, please, somebody out there correct me if I'm wrong, but I know NASCAR Heat 3 has released a shitload of paint schemes as DLC. But as far as I know, and I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, what happened to those custom schemes they were supposed to, those templates for the paint booth that was supposed to be part of this DLC package? Remember before the game ever, or I don't know if it was when it came out or before it ever came out, that they announced those season passes with all these paint schemes and that you were also going to get custom templates? Whatever happened to that? I mean, I've looked around, and like I said, I could be wrong. Somebody correct me, but I don't think they've released anything new so that you could customize your car with something other than just a handful of templates they have in NASCAR Heat 3. So I keep being proven correct, and I'm telling you guys, you're spending money, and what are you really getting? You gotta force these guys to give you more quality and more content for your money. And don't just give them your money for trinkets and skins and meaningless garbage. If you do that, you're just contributing to the problem. But thankfully, like I said, when you see how low those stock prices have dropped, it's happening throughout the gaming industry. That's a good sign, in my opinion. That means that people are starting to wake up and they're fed up with getting ripped off. So, I encourage people to not support a bad business model. Don't get this stuff. It doesn't add anything to the game, and it just makes things worse. So I want to know what you guys think. There is one more thing about the Red Dead 2 Online. What was it? Oh my god, I almost forgot. So besides the fact that there's no passive mode, which I think is abominable, there is also... What happened to the mini games? I thought we were going to be able to play poker with people online. You can play poker offline, but you can't play poker online? I want to know why the fuck Rockstar still doesn't have poker available online. I was looking forward to... I love poker. I was looking forward to playing poker with people online. Now, I'm sure somebody might say, well, maybe gambling, stuff like that. Listen, the whole online microtransaction thing is all basically gambling. You can play poker offline, but you can't play poker online. Even if you want to say, okay, we're not going to let people gamble their fake money or whatever, just for fun, you can't play poker? I don't know what these people are doing, but it's horrible. And it pains me to say it because I truly love the offline, and I still highly recommend this game to people. Just for the offline, it's worth it. And I've always been someone who buys games based on offline content. So for me, it's still a great value. It's still a masterpiece. But it's sad to see that this online, it's not going to get better. What can they possibly do? There's just not a lot to do with the money either. I don't know, man. I think they overplayed their hand, so to speak. And do not be surprised if Take-Two stock starts dropping in the first quarter of 2019. I think there's already a backlash. There's people leaving the online, and they keep saying they're going to add stuff. They're still working on it. But what can they possibly do? It's an overpriced. I don't know what else to say, man. It's fucked up, but I look forward to your comments. I want to know what you guys think, and it is what it is. I look forward to your comments. Later.